Hey guys, and welcome back to another match preview and prediction. And we're going to be getting into a very exciting matchup, a matchup that we've never seen before. The head-to-head is 0-0. Nick Kyrgios versus Botic van der Zanschulp for the Indian Wells Masters tournament for round one, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. The winner will play Novak Djokovic in the second round. So there's a lot riding on this match. We could get potential blockbuster Djokovic-Kyrgios match, or, to be fair, it could also be a blockbuster between Van der Zanschulp and Djokovic. Of course, Van der Zanschulp has beaten Alcaraz and Nadal last year as well. He does have the quality to beat some of the big dogs on tour, and we've seen that in the past. Before we do get into it though, remember that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you are listening on a podcast platform. We appreciate all our members as well. You guys are legends for getting involved as always. So, both these players are in interesting points in their career and also in the year as well. Van der Zanschulp, I think, has had a very inconsistent 12 months, a couple of big wins, but also he's had some, I would say, very disappointing losses, I think it's fair to say. In Qatar, he made the round of 16, which was a decent run. Dubai lost in the qualifiers. Indian Wells, he's come through qualifying, beaten a couple of good players, and now played Kyrgios in the first round. But it hasn't been plain sailing, in all honesty. It's not been a couple of first round losses in Marseille, in Rotterdam to Alcaraz, who got revenge. He's played in the Australian Open, of course, where he lost in the first round to Alex de Minaur. That was a tough draw, I think it's fair to say. And he's lost, a few other matches in qualifiers. So it just hasn't really been, so far anyway, apart from that round of 16 run in Qatar, there hasn't been much to talk about, in fairness. For Kyrgios, there's been nothing to talk about, really, because he played the Australian Open. He lost to Jacob Federley in the first round, and then we haven't seen him since. He cited the wrist injury, which we know that he's had work done on his right wrist, which is not a particularly good injury to have as a tennis player, because your wrist is so important with the majority, if not all, of your ground strokes and majority of the shots in tennis. We've seen Dominic Thiem, Martin Del Potro really struggle with wrist injuries throughout their careers, and then actually, in the case of Dominic Thiem, he retired early. So with Kyrgios, hopefully he's able to play at the highest level, but there were some and are some concerns after he was clutching his right wrist in practice. I think it was a practice session against Nishikori, if I'm not mistaken, in the last couple of days, had to quit or stop the session short. Hopefully he's fit and ready to play. There is a small percentage chance he could pull out. There hasn't been any news yet, so I'm hoping he will play. But like we saw against Jacob Federley when he had the ab strain, if he is physically hampered, it could be a relatively easy win for Van der Zanschulp, and also a very difficult, hard slog for the Australian. And his serve wasn't there against Jacob Federley, and we know that is his biggest weapon. It's an all-time great serve. I'd say top 5 of all time. Definitely top 10 anyway. And in a lot of people's eyes, pound for pound, or given his height, etc., they actually think he's got the most efficient serve ever. Because with some of the players like John Isner and Opelka, the height difference does help, of course. So the serve's going to be key for him. Van der Zanschulp, he's also a pretty big server as well himself. But what he did really well, and has done really well against some of the big players when he's beaten them, is be really aggressive off the ground from the baseline, coming forward, volleying really well, transitioning beautifully. That's when he's at his best. But the problem for him is that sometimes it can be very error prone, and the shot selection and decision making is not the best, or he can go into a shell a little bit and can become a little bit too passive. So for him, it's very important that I think he is playing on the front foot. He's trying to come forward, and Kyrgios doesn't like to defend. So, for both guys, it's really going to be who can be the most effective when it comes, as the Americans would like to say, to the offensive side of the game. Or you could just say how effective they're going to be when it comes to attacking in this match. And attacking is a very general term, but essentially this match is going to come down to who serves well, who hits deep and through the court, off the ground, from the back of the court, who transitions well, even volleys well. Because moving forward is the best option for both these players. That's when both these players are at their best. Kyrgios and Zanschulp, when they're having to defend, they're not going to be any of the top players playing that way. Simple as that. Kyrgios has always been a rock and roll type player, and Zanschulp, he's very quiet on court in demeanor, very different to Nick. In that sense, there's a big contrast there. But in terms of actually the way they should approach their matches, there's a lot of similarities. It has to be said. Zanschulp, a lot of his game is built on confidence as well. So how he starts the match could be quite key. If he goes down quite early, a couple of breaks, for example, Kyrgios could potentially run away with it. But there's going to be all eyes, I think, on one, Nick Kyrgios' wrist, and two, on Zanschulp's form. How does he look straight away? My hope is that if either both are not playing too well, so it matches evenly, or both are playing well and it matches relatively evenly, I think if both are playing at their best, Kyrgios will win. In terms of prediction, look, it's difficult to say. I actually think the Zanschulp will win. I'm very, very worried about Nick's wrist. I don't think, if he's clutching it in practice, that to me is a real worrying sign that he had to cut the practice short. So I'm going to go with Zanschulp in 3 sets. I think maybe Kyrgios will take a tiebreaker. Kyrgios could win on his serve alone. That's how good his serve is. We'll have to see. Let me know in the comment section below what you think and why. I think it's a really intriguing matchup. In terms of, if we look at the forehand and backhand to backhand, we know that Nick's got that very flat backhand. Zanschulp has got a serviceable backhand. It's not a massive weakness of his. And forehand to forehand, I think, Kyrgios has the ability to accelerate through the ball at will at times, but it can be very spinny, which, to be fair, will have quite a lot of potency in Indian Wells, or at Indian Wells, and Zanschulp plays a pretty standard ball off the forehand, despite the forehand extreme grip that he's got. So, should be an interesting matchup. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. We'll see you in the next video.